Hello guys and welcome to the BBOL Season 7 End of Season Review. A couple of things I want to bring up first before we get started. A lot of stuff to cover. We've got the awards to do. We have a review of all the different coaches. Going to have a little look at the stats. Going to have a little look at where people have kind of showed where they're really strong, showed where maybe there's a little work for improvement. And more importantly, we're just going to have a good deep dive. So, we're going to go ahead and do that. Before we do that, we are going to go ahead and skip over to the Season 7 MVP page, just to see where everyone finally finished. Week 1, David Marion. Week 2, Mark Maguire. Week 3, Rachel LeBrenner. Week 4, Petra Chekhov. Week 5, Cheryl Reynolds. Week 6, Ronnie Dobbs. Week 7, Claudia Vallata. Week 8, Jane Davis. Week 9, Sophie Meyer. Week 10, Yvonne Carter. Week 11, Ken Griffey Jr. Week 12, Melissa Waters. One of these is not like the other. Melissa Waters. Week 13, Fred Benson. And week 14 went to Leah Wayne. Our playoff coaches are all here. The playoffs has officially started. We only have the one match from the time I've recorded this. The 1-0 Jasmine against Tristian. But it's still anyone's to play for. Division winners, congratulations to Matty Sams and Wooper for the 14-0 from Wooper and the 11-3 from Matty Sams. Biggest win? Week 7 was Wooper, 20-0. There's been games like that. I think Wooper's had some big ones. George has had some big ones. Week 14, Epstein with a big win, 9-1 for the final game of the season. So really closing the regular season out with a big result there. Biggest RBI per game is Fred Benson, who scored 9 RBIs in week 13. That is George Benucci, whatever you want to go with. And biggest run average, which is basically exactly that. It is your highest scoring games compared to your lowest scoring games, and the average it's the average, because that's how an average works. And that was Wooper for the Pirates with a plus 8.5 average. So, with that being said, just a couple of things before we get to the deep dive for the players. The first things first. Some stats are a little bit squiff. And they're only squiff because, well, one, you have a lot of forfeits. There's been quite a few, right? There's been a fair amount of forfeits this season, and unfortunately that does mean there's a lot of stats missing in that regard. Also, there's been little instances where people haven't been able to record the full stats, so on and so forth. So if you do see some of your stats and you think to yourself, that seems a bit off, that doesn't seem right, then, yeah, bear with me. Give me a little bit of leeway. But if you do check the Little League stats after this video, if you want to double check, all the stats in this video are grabbed straight from there. So that is only what we have recorded. Right, so let's get started. We are going to start with Tristian. Let me go ahead and get his stats up here in the stats page. So, right, so 10-4 finish. Tristian in the playoffs. Like I said, 1-0 down against Jasmine right now, but obviously, still a lot to play for. 10-4 is nothing to be sneezed at. That's a really strong performance from Tristian. 44 runs for, 41s against, a 0.39 batting average, a 3.48 error, and a 1.57 whip. So, overall, looking pretty strong. 0.393, you will come to find in the Little League, is actually very respectable. Once you get to the higher levels, you want like a 0.5 around that area, but for the Little League, 0.393 is very respectable indeed. 3.48 is a little bit high for kind of that level of where everyone is around that 10-4 area. However, the fact that he's 10-4 means there is definitely something going on, and there definitely is. Let's go ahead and start with Raphael Hendricks, is the home run leader with 5 home runs. Also, had a fair amount of getting on base too. Raphael Hendricks, 30 total bases. To put that in perspective, that is the highest amount of total bases took for Tristan's team. Raphael Hendricks, the 4-speed, got the most amount of total bases. Sammy Sosa, of course, being next up with 25. Strong performance, though, from Sammy. 0.483 average, which puts him above the regular average. Got 8 RBIs to his name. Got 3 home runs. You will tend to find in the Little League, there's not a huge amount of home runs, with the exception of, 1 or 2. But in Sammy's defence, 12 walks. So he did get walked a lot. It is really nice to see the Little League using walks. So I do completely get that. And Lorelei Ikaye overperformed. Now what overperform means is, overperformed is usually a weaker player on your team that people don't expect to do overly great, that actually looked really solid. So let's have a look at Lorelei. So average batting for Lorelei was 0.462, which is actually the second highest on the team, which is really impressive considering some of the people that are on here. But more importantly, what I found was really impressive, 18 hits, 18 first bases, 100% hit to base ratio. Nobody else on Tristan's team managed to do that. All came close. Grace kind of came close, but Grace only had 9 hits, so 18 for 18 is pretty strong. You can't be mad at that. Overall, I think Tristan, I mean, he was obviously going to get playoffs. He's one of those players, along with Wooper, along with Matty Sams, along with, I mean, George would be in that conversation too, who are not Little League coaches, right? It's just because we're testing stuff out, unfortunately, some people are going to be a little bit lower than they should be, and some people are a little bit higher than they should be, and Tristan fell into that gap. So 10-4 was very on par, very expected. Any negatives that I can bring up? All I can think of is the error does seem a little bit high for a 10-4 finish. Now, he had Randy Johnson. Now, this is interesting because I looked at the Junior League, and the HL for that matter, and Randy Johnson's errors actually seem reasonably high. So that might actually be a Tristan thing. That might be a Randy Johnson's... He might have fell off. Maybe. We'll see. But 1.57 error is actually really solid. So it is just... I mean, 1.57 whip is very solid. So it's just the error side of things. Overall, Tristan's season... Some of his wins here. He's got a 7-0 win against Man Student. He's got a 4-0 against Jasmine. He has a... The only big loss he's really had is the 12-0 loss for Week 14 against Wooper. And that's because I think Wooper's locking in there for the playoffs. Going to try and win the whole thing. But Tristan can too, because he's still in it. So we'll see what happens. As for Tristan's season, out of 10, I think, considering his team isn't overly strong, he's got Raphael and Sammy, and that's kind of the only people who can really get on base, to still have a positive run for, and being 10-4 as a finish, I mean, you have to take that all day long, right? Did I say I was doing out with 10? We'll do out with 10. I'll give Tristan an 8. It's a really strong season. I think you've got to be happy with that. Next up is Wooper. Let's get Wooper's out of the way, because, I mean, you can't not give it a 10, can you, realistically? Actually, no, I'm giving it a 10. I'm giving it a 10. It's a 14-0 finish, 0.498 average, which puts him above the majority of the Junior League. 0.86 error and a 0.95 whip. 0.86 for error is gross. Artie Pimbleton threw 234 pitches. He had an error of 0.27. That is one of the lowest errors I think I've seen. That's impressive. That is extremely impressive. Another thing that's incredibly impressive on Wooper's team is there's an award coming up, you know, for best players and stuff like that. There is 3 people on this team that deserve that award. Cheryl is one of them, Claudia is one of them, and Wally is one of them. Let's have a quick look at the stats. Claudia, 12 home runs, 30 RBIs, 69 total bases, 0.595 batting average. It's pretty insane. 21 runs. Not the highest though, which we will get to. But, I mean, Cheryl's had an insane season. Claudia Vallata, 16 RBIs, 55 total bases, 29 hits, of which 25 of which of the 29 hits all managed to get on base, including 10 second bases. So she's been really sending them into the outfield. 0.69 for the batting average for Claudia. And Wally Evans, especially impressive. 24 runs, 11 RBIs. However, 0.647 average from Wally Evans. Incredibly strong. 33. Actually, wow, I actually didn't realise this when I put him in strong performance. But 33 hits, 33 bases. I mean, you say whatever you want to say. That is incredibly impressive. Overall, 119 runs for, 12 runs against. It's been an insane performance from somebody who is way too good to be in the Little League. He should be in the Junior League. I think he's probably in that playoff area in the Junior League. And it's a 10. It's a 10. What do you want me to say? Right, next up, Tusk. Right, let's have a look at Tusk. Let me just find him in the sheet. There we go. So, 4-10 finish for Tusk, 0.332 average, 6.35 error, and a 2.54 whip. 39 runs for, 73 runs against. Now, with Tusk, the issue seems to be not actually scoring, because he's got wins. He's got wins against Jasmine, he's got wins against MikeMadness, he's got wins against Ben. He's got a forfeit win here against Kayden. But the fact that he got a 5-3 win against Jasmine means that he's very capable of getting wins. I have scrimmed Tusk in the preseason, and he defensively is actually pretty solid. And 0.332 average is actually, for this low down of 4-10, is actually quite impressive. The issue seems to be with Tusk's team, the error. Now, if we look at the errors here, Angelique, not an ideal person to be pitching with, but that is his, his backup, someone to pick up the slack. 6.79 error and a 6 error on Whitney. Whitney, you do expect to do a little bit better. Whitney is usually a little bit better, so I think if there's anything I would say for Tusk here, it's definitely the pitching side that probably is where a little bit of help is needed. Home run leader goes to Jay, who scored 3, as well as 9 RBIs. Average, just above average at 3.67. Courtney and Francesca actually did fairly well. If you look at, let's start with Courtney, 0.545 average, and she only played 7 games, so there's a smaller sample size, but I mean, that is considerably higher than the 0.332 average. So you have to say Courtney did really well. 6 RBIs to her name, 2 home runs. And Francesca, 0.367. So around about the same average, but 8 RBIs. Second highest, only with the exception of Jay Green. And 2 home runs also to the name. So had a little bit of a rough season for Tusk. However, I don't think it's anything to do with his actual offensive side or fielding side, or especially not the offensive side. Of plus a 0.332 average for the Little League is actually not that bad. It seems to be the error. So maybe working on pitching is kind of where we go from there. How good has Tusk's season be? I think I'm not judging this by me. I'm judging this by how I think they would see this season. How I think they would see this season. And I think Tusk could give this season a 4. I think Tusk probably thinks, I've seen him scrim. He's a lot better than this would perhaps say. It is worth saying that you look at some of these losses. 2-3 against Matty, 4-3 against Lylian, 4-5 against Andyroo. So there's not a lot in it. 5-6 against Tristian. You know what I mean? He is clearly putting up some offensive numbers, right? He is getting there, but it is just that pitching side that's making him concede just a little bit too much. And that's what's kind of resulted in that 4-10. So we'll go for a 4 with Tusk. I think he'll come back a lot better next season. Right, Theo. Where's Theo? Let me have a look here. Theo, where have you gone? There he is. Right. Theo, or Ep, or whatever you want to call him. I'm probably just going to go with Ep. 6-8 finish, 0.345 average, a 2.11 error, and a 1.28 whip. The whip's impressive. The error is also pretty standard for the Little League. In fact, dare I say it's quite good for the Little League? I'd say so. Considering his main pitcher was Diana Hayes, which is why I've got Diana Hayes as being the overperform member. 1.71 error on Diana Hayes is actually really solid. Like, incredibly solid. Diana threw 849 pitches she performed above and beyond what you would say Diana probably should. So you have to go with that. It's only 2.11 because Mark Maguire 86 pitches thrown, 5.40 and 7.73 for Tonya Lesko. But neither of them are pitches, and I very much imagine that is just a case of Diana Hayes was gassed out, and he had to swap. Right. Home run leader went to Mark Maguire, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs. As far as strong performances, nobody else really stood out. So it is very much Diana's fantastic pitching that managed to get Epstein to that 6-8 finish. Really strong pitching. The offensive side perhaps was a little bit low, but he gets a reasonable amount of hits off too. Like, it's about 40. No, it's not. It's about 35% at base to hit ratio. So that's kind of where Epstein is at this point. So that's what he needs to work on. Do I think Ep would be happy with a 6 and 8? I don't think he'd be overly disappointed with 6 and 8. I think that pitching performance is enough to bump it kind of above where it needs to be. I think that's a pretty reasonable finish. 32 runs for, 31 against. I think a 6 for Theo. I don't feel like that's unreasonable. But yeah, Diana very much the star of this team for Season 7. Next up is MrPantz. Let's find MrPantz. Where have you gone? MrPantz 8 and 6 finish, 0.257 average, a 4.75 error, and a 1.81 whip. 23 runs for, 53 runs. That's supposed to say runs against. That says runs. 23 runs for, 53 runs for. No, 53 runs against, 23 runs for. This is definitely a stats one. I'd say there'd be some stats ones. This is definitely one of them. There's no way you're 8 and 6 with a minus 31 difference. So just ignore that, because that's clearly not a thing. So there's definitely some stats funkiness going on there. Home run leader, Pablo Sanchez, 5 home runs, 8 RBIs. Holly Franklin, 0.462 average, which is a lot higher, right, than a 0.27 average. So Holly's kind of played out of her skin. Holly did not actually pitch that much, which I find interesting because, dare I say, Holly Franklin is the best pitcher on that team. Derek can pitch, obviously. Derek is perfectly fine at pitching, but I'd say Holly's probably the better pitcher, which is interesting. I wonder why he chose to go Derek instead of Holly. But I wonder if the hour would have been a bit better if he went Holly instead of Derek. But I definitely think, obviously, the pitching hour is a little bit of an issue. But Holly, regardless, really good average. 21 total bases, which is the second most on the team, with the exception of Pablo Sanchez. Holly played. Holly did her bit. And listen, MrPantz is 8 and 6. As far as I am aware, let me just double check. MrPantz is in the playoffs. Yes, he is. 8 and 6. So, hopefully, because MrPantz is better than... He's certainly better than that minus 30 suggests. Like I said, there's something definitely wrong there. I'll be interested to see how MrPantz does going into the playoffs. How would I rate its season? I think the hour is a little bit high. And I think the average we can forgive. The one difference we can forgive because there's definitely a little bit of stat discrepancy there. At least I certainly feel like there is. But hey, 8 and 6. What matters is that you win, right? And he's winning. He's in the playoffs. So 7? I think a 7 is fair. Let's go for that. Next up. Right. Give me a second. Let me sip my coffee. I can't start losing my voice already. It is already so early. Right. Nata and Kayden. Nata played 2 games kind of to start with. I do believe it was somebody called SMB who started but didn't play any games. Disappeared completely, actually. Nobody knows what happened to him. But Nata took over, got 2 wins under the belt. And then Kayden took over. And Kayden played a good percentage of games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. And then unfortunately, due to availability and scheduling and just the way it was, 6 games, forfeit. So it's 2 and 12 finish, 0.256 average, 5.6 error, 1.9 whip. The Dodgers curse in the Little League is unreal. Last season, we had loads of issues with the Dodgers. This season, we have lots of issues with the Dodgers. Hopefully, in Season 8, I beg one of these decent coaches comes and grabs the Dodgers, because somebody needs to break this curse, because it's just not happening for the Dodgers. What can I say? The Dodgers are... they're a funny one. I didn't put home run leader because there is 4 people with 1 home run, and that's it. And that's it. Strong performances, averages, pretty standard. I guess we can shout out Sean Green, who managed to put off a 0.429 average, which is actually pretty strong. But Derek Jeter, 2.94 average. Molly, 2.6. Mandy Coolidge, 0.2 average. I know Mandy's not the fastest in the world, but she's got a lot of power behind that bat. And sadly, it just didn't happen. It's the Dodgers curse. It is what it is. I'm going to give it a 3. And the only reason why I give it a 3 is because Kayden... listen, Kayden jumped in. He played 6 games. You know, he went on a loss streak. He was going on a loss streak. He wasn't a big fan of the team he was playing with. And he stuck it out for a while. So, you got to give points for that. But it's the Dodgers. It is what it is. Right, next up is Notorious. Let's have a little look here. Where's Notorious? Where have you gone? There you are. Right, Notorious pun. 9-5 finish. Another playoff team. 0.387 average. 3.16 hour and a 1.61 whip. So, 57 runs for, 39 against. Let's have a little look. 3.16 hour is maybe slightly high for a 9-5 finish team, but it's not atrocious, I don't think. Stephanie Morgan was definitely somebody who I thought was a bit of a standout. 18 hits, 17 of those. Actually, hang on. No, 18. So, 18 hits, all of which Stephanie managed to get to base, which is impressive because she's not the fastest in the world. She's not slow. You know, she's 6 speed, but still, you know, a perfect hit to base ratio is not bad at all. 0.439 average. 849 pitches thrown for Kenny. Kenny did fine. You have to keep in mind, Kenny only has 1 hit, and that's a slow ball. So 3.16, it's not bad. Does he have anybody else he could have pitched with? He could have pitched with Frankie at a push, and obviously Leia. But I get that. For me, I also probably agree that you don't really want to be pitching with Leia. But hey ho, home run leader though is Leia. Leia got 9 home runs, 18 RBIs. But yeah, Stephanie. Definitely the strong performer in this team. I think if we give Notorious a rating, anything that I'd improve, I don't really think so. I think this is a pretty standard, you know, everyone kind of did the job they needed to. Nobody seemed really out of their depth. Linda Potter, 0.438 average. If you get over your like team's average and you're someone like Linda, like a 9th rounder or 8th rounder, you got to be happy with that, right? So I don't think Notorious really has anything that I can really shout out for. So I'm going to give this... I'm going to give this a 7. This is a good season. Yeah, this is a decent season. Can't be mad at this at all. As far as wins, 2-0 v MrPantz. We have a 2-0 versus Theo. 8-6 against Lylian. So Notorious has wins against people who are currently in the playoffs. So, how far can Notorious take it? I don't know. We'll see. Right, next up is Uhoed. Where is Uhoed? Where have you gone? Where's Uhoed gone? There you are. Right, cool. Uhoed, 9-5 finish. Another team that has made it into the playoffs. 0.272 average, 2.37 hour, and a 1.22 whip. 29 runs for, 32 against. A Sandy player. Same as Season 6. Loves to play on Sandy. God knows why. Because I don't know anyone who can enjoy playing on Sandy. But hey, Uhoed's all for it. He's definitely a more defensive player. But let's have a little look here. So, 2.37. 2.3 from Frank Thomas. I actually put Frank Thomas as overperforming. I need to take a breath. Whew, right. Frank Thomas, 2.30 hour. I actually thought it was really impressive because Frank on Sandy, 4-speed pitcher on Sandy. Listen, That is really solid. I think that's really strong. So I definitely think Frank did overperform. Home run leader was actually Wonny Dobbs. He was MVP that 1 week for a reason. 3 home runs to his name at 9 RBIs. Ironically, only a 0.2 average. But, you know, he did get MVP 1 week, so he's in the conversation for an award that we will get to a little bit later. Kenny Lofton, 0.450 average, which is well above, which is why he's on strong performer. Overall, offensively, a bit of a, I guess, a kind of a weaker season for Uhoed, but he's on Sandy, so it kind of is what it is. He's on Sandy with nobody that has a great amount of power, with the exception of Wonny, and I think you could even argue Wonny Dobbs is not like a massive home run hitter. Good line drives maybe, but 86 is probably just below that sweet spot for like consistent home runs. But Wonny did enough to get those RBIs, get a couple of home runs on the board, and now he's in the playoffs, so we'll see what happens. Defensively, it's clearly been quite strong. 2.37 error on Frank, I said, is really good. Conceding 32 is a little unfortunate, but if you compare them to some of the people that we've already seen, 32 isn't atrocious. It's not bad. And that defensive just kind of holding on. If you look at the wins here, 2-1 against BackwardsCap, 6-0 win against Kayden, 6-3 against Notorious. Ooh, hang on a minute. Ooh, here's an interesting stat. Uhoed is 5 for 5 in his last 5 games. Won all 5, including those Bdeaux, Notorious, and he's got a win against BackwardsCap. He has wins against people who are in the playoffs or are very close to getting playoffs. He could go a lot further than his stats actually suggest. I think his average is his only weakness here. However, the average is kind of nerfed slightly by the fact that he's playing on Sandy. Rating for Uhoed, I'm not going to say it's an excellent season, but 9-5 is 9-5, so you can't argue too much. I think we'll give it... It's a strong 6. Do we give it a 7? We'll give it a 7. We'll give it a 7, because 9-5 is... Listen, you're in the playoffs. What more do you want, mate? We'll give it a 7. Right, George Benucci. I always say George Benucci. It's not, it's Benucci. Let's have a look. King George. Right, 9.5 finish, 0.446 average, 3.12 error, and a 1.71 whip. Peppiner also played 5 games, of which Peppiner went 0-5. I think Peppiner got just a little bit fed up. You know, just wasn't winning games. Was actually putting numbers on the board. Unfortunately, there was a lot of conceding, and I just don't think he was totally getting into the vibe. And I think it was just frustrating him, which is absolutely fine. Listen, if you're not having fun, you know, when the fun stops, stop. And I think that's very valid. But he did deserve to be in here because he did play 5 games. So, home run leader goes to Fred Benson. Again, only 3 home runs. Not a lot of home runs this season. I was looking at the stats and I'm like, that can't be true. But, nope. George Benucci, 9-5. Probably one of the strongest players in this league. 7 home runs for the whole team. I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. Now, I will say he's on Tin Can. So, you know. Does he have anyone on that team that can get over the building? Fred Benson? That's probably it, right? So, have to take that into account. Fred Benson, 0.622 batting average, also puts him as a really strong performance. He also has a 20 bases, 23 hits, so that's also very strong. Sonia Hagen is also a strong performer. 0.667, which is the highest average for George Benucci's team. 68 runs for, 38 against. Nicky Winston, I actually think overperformed because 15 bases out of 16 hits for 4-speed. 0.432 average, which are slightly below the average, but again, it's Nicky, right? I think that's perfectly reasonable. 15 RBIs, which is just below Fred Benson for the RBI leader. So for Nicky to do that, to get around the bases like that, it's impressive, right? It's impressive. Now, I will say something that I didn't put and perhaps I push up. I put have. I'm talking too fast. I'm starting to get muddled. Let me have another sip of coffee, and I'll be right back with you. Oh, it's long-winded. Right, Paco Kaufman, 1.16 hour. Now, he only throwed 130 pitches, but still 10 innings. So for 10 innings, 1.16 hour. I don't know what game he was. What game was Paco a big part of? Because he must have absolutely kicked off. Where is Paco? Where have you gone? Paco played a little bit in game 9. No hits against there. He had 2 hits against in week 10. 7 balls for there. 6 hits there, but I don't think he's allowed any ones. I don't think he has. I don't think he's allowed any ones. So I think that's really impressive. But 68 ones for, 30 ones against is pretty insane. 4.46 average is also pretty insane for the Little League. He is definitely in that junior league fighting for playoff area with alongside Wooper. 3.12 hour is a little bit high, but why is that? Who is letting the team down? Because Jerry was his main pitcher. Jerry had a 2.03. Yeah, so Sonia Hagen did 136 pitches thrown, played 12 innings, and had an hour of 9.25. She subbed in and did not do her job. She's still a strong performer because of the massive average, but on the pitching side, she let the team down a little bit. Otherwise, that hour would be a lot lower, so take that into account. But George's season, listen, he's 9-5, but Peppiner went on a 5-game losing streak at the start of the season. Do you want to do the maths or shall I? Because I'm pretty sure, obviously this doesn't mean that he would have been, but there's a very real chance that George could have been 14-0 alongside Wooper. So, you know, is this a 10? No, it is a 9 though. It's an excellent season. The only reason why I'm not giving it a 10 is because I feel like Sonia on the pitching side let it down a little bit, but it's a fantastic season. He is in a league that he shouldn't be in, alongside Wooper, alongside Matty. And, yeah, he showed it. Very strong performance. Next up is honourable mention. Another person that you could argue is perhaps a little bit strong to be in the Little League. And the averages usually tell this. So 8-6 finish. 0.415 average, 2.38 hour, and a 1.4 whip. Ones for 45 and a 23 ones against. Now, home run leader for honourable mention the Mariners goes to Zena From. 6 home runs, 15 RBIs, an average of 0.517. Well above the average. Zena actually performed pretty well. However, Jane also did 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, and a 0.531 average. 37 total bases, so Jane actually has the most amount of total bases in this team. So Jane clearly had a really strong performance. Pamela Kirkos gets the overperformed. Obviously, Pamela isn't bad, so I'm breaking my rule a little bit. However, 8 RBIs, kind of the reason why Pamela Kirkos got the overperformed is kind of she was the only standout apart from Zena and Jane. Everyone else actually had reasonably quiet seasons. Rose only got 9 hits. It's Rose, so, you know, it is what it is. But Rose only got 9 hits. Omar got 8 hits. Ernie only got 10, which I'm quite surprised by. On Steel, Ernie only got 10 hits. Ernie did not have a strong performance. That's kind of the downside to HM's performance. Ernie apparently just didn't want to perform. But it is what it is. Another one where he actually had 1.8 for hour with Omar Stefano, played really well. However, 4.51 hour with Ashley when Ashley's had to step in. So it's bumped up a little bit. Sydney Webber, both Webbers had to pitch a little bit. Neither of them put up good hours, so they've inflated the stats a little bit. But 1.84 on Omar. So, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You can't be mad at that. Also in the playoffs, deserves to be there. 45 wins for, 23 against. Some of the wins here. He's got wins against 8-5 against Meeky. He has 10-1 against Mike. 3-2 against BackwardsCap. He has a 6-3 against Golden. That's not actually Golden, though. That is... No, it's not Wurs. It's Brad. Who is Golden? It is... Yeah, it's Wurs. Yeah, it's Wurs. Who Wurs? Listen, Wurs was actually a pretty solid player. So, it is what it is, right? But overall, I think we're going to give Honourable Mentions team a... I'm going to give it a 6. It's a playoff team. It's a good average. It's a good hour. However, there's a bit of carry between Xena, Jane, and Pam. The rest of the team didn't really perform as well as you would expect. Nah, I'm not giving it a 6. I can't give a 6 to an 8 and 6 finish with a 0.415 average. 7. I'll give it a 7. 6 is a bit wild. Let's go 7. So, not a bad season. It'll be interested to see what they do in the playoffs. Next up is Golden. Or should we say it's Wurs? Because Golden didn't actually manage to play. He had a lot of technical difficulties. I think it got pretty frustrating for him to a point where he was like, do you know what? Can we just abandon ship on this? And do you know what? It's fine. If it's going to be frustrating and it's going to get in the way and it's going to annoy you, it's not worth you playing, is it? Simple as. 3-11 finish, 0.686 average, 3.38 hour, and a 1.38 whip on Wurs. 35 ones for, 50 against. Considering he is 3-11, Wurs actually put up a lot of home runs. To put it in perspective, he played 10 games. He only didn't score in one of those games. He scored in every other game. And these are all pretty fighty matches. Week 8 against Tristian, he went 6-8 loss. Week 7, 3-6 loss against Honourable. 4-5 loss against Matty Sams in week... Matty Sams in week 6, Honourable Mention in week 7. So, he put a lot of fight in. I think with Wurs, he had technical difficulties, so that's why he had to bow out, unfortunately. But yeah, he was very fighty, so I think that record is a little bit cruel. He is definitely better than that. The average is also a little bit low, but, I mean, he's getting on the board, right? Home run leader Jose Canseco got 3 home runs and 4 RBIs with an average of 0.4. To be honest, his average is so slow because there is certain people that are really dragging it down. Kurt is Kurt. 3 hits out of 25 bases. 25 at bases, 3 hits. It's Kurt. Right, 0.120 average. On the hour side of things, with the pitching, Kurt didn't actually do too bad. 2.82 hour. Unfortunately brought down by Ewan. 9.84. I'm going to be honest, right? Here's a tip for everyone in the league. Everyone in backyard baseball, for that matter. Every time I have seen Ewan Harris pitch, she's been atrocious. Just don't pitch with Ewan. Don't pitch with Ewan. I don't know why people like pitching with her, but last season we had another person, I think it was Nata, who pitched with Ewan, and it just doesn't work. She's not a pitcher. It is what it is. A 17 hour for Ray Tran, but in Ray's defence, he only pitched he didn't even pitch a single inning. He played 0.67 innings. So we'll leave Ray alone. Strong performer, I'll have to give it to Jason Kendall. He only played 7 games. However, 19 at base, 10 hits, 8 of which got on base, 0.526 average. Nearly double what the team's average is. 17 total bases. 4 RBIs, puts him right up there with everyone else, and he only played 7 games. So he has to be considered the strong performer in this team. What do I rate this team out of 10 for their season? It's a struggle. It is a struggle of a season. 3-11 is really unfortunate. However, I think it is a little bit cruel considering some of the results. I'm going to give it a 4. Because it was a struggle and there was a lot of issues. The Diamondbacks kind of had a Dodgers curse season here. But Wurs was fighty. And I definitely believe he could have got more wins under his belt if we didn't have the technical issues and he managed to stick around. So, well played to Wurs. I hope he does come back because a very capable coach. And we will see what happens there. Next up is Jasmine. Where have you gone, Jasmine? Jasmine is here. Jasmine 8 and 6, 0.418 average, 1.87 hour, 1.48 whip, ones for 37, ones against 24. Now, I don't have a strong performer because nobody actually stood out that much. However, I'm lying. Home 1 is what I meant. Home 1 leader, I didn't really have because there was only 2 Home 1 real people that got on the board. A couple of people got 1. Mowlin and Maria both got 2. But is 2 Home 1s enough to give you a Home 1 leader? Plus, if both of them have 2, didn't really feel like putting a Home 1 leader was worth it. However, strong performer has to go to Mowlin. 28 hits, 26 managed to get on base. 2 Home 1s, 7 RBIs, 0.667 average, which is really strong. 0.146 is a pretty strong average for the Little League. Can't be mad at that at all. And Amanda Hellerman kind of disregarding what I said about Randy earlier about falling off, because Amanda is not. 1.88 hour. Really strong. 1,054 pitches thrown. 73.33 innings. Really, yeah, I mean, it's really strong. Really strong. You can't be mad at that at all. Overperformed, I think you've got to give it to Olga. 18 hits. 18 got onto base. 0.563. Only 3 RBIs, but the average is a lot higher. And Olga was consistently getting on base with the hits that she was doing. So you can't be mad at that, right? So I think Olga overperformed is what it is. As for Jasmine's season, 1-0 up currently against Tristian in the playoffs. I do think she has more wins under her belt. We'll get to the predictions. But I think Jasmine had a good season. Do I think it was as good as she can be? I think Jasmine can actually do better. I could definitely see Jasmine being like a 10-4 area. But it's not bad, is it? It's not bad at all. Give it a 7. I think that is very reasonable, I think, for the Wombats. So we'll give it a 7. Next up is Kurisu. The Philly Go is on deck. Now, Lindsay Felgate has the everything badge right now. And there is a reason. Because looking at this team, there was a lot of not very strong performance. 5-9 finish, 0.282 average, 3.07 hour, and a 1.21 whip. 34 ones for, 42 ones against. However, let me put it this way. Nancy Chin, 0.152 average. George Coleman, 0.194 average. Ingrid Dahlman, 0.11 average. Veronica Lee, 0.256 average. Low averages, right? Unfortunately, a lot of the people on Kurisu's team just weren't performing. However, Lindsay, being Lindsay, does what she does best. 4 home runs, 5 RBIs, 14 runs, 52 total bases. To put that in perspective, that is... Let me just make sure this is correct. Doing my little total up here. That is a third of the entire team's total bases came from Lindsay. 0.619 average. That average is like top level junior league average. And that's what Lindsay managed to do. So she also did a tiny bit of pitching and allowed 1 hit. So Lindsay played out of her skin, carried that Phillies team to a 5-9 finish. And listen, that's Lindsay. Lindsay does what she does best. Insane player. She's not in that big 4, Jay, Leah, Henri, Julie, but I honestly do believe Lindsay is that 5th spot. I would pick Lindsay over Pete. I would pick Lindsay over Chico. Sorry, Chico. And I would pick Lindsay over Sosa. Lindsay is just... She's that good. The hour 3.07, slightly high, but not really that concerning. Really. The biggest pitch for it was Ryan. 705 pitches thrown, 2.87. So that's pretty standard that for Little League. You can't be mad at that. As for the season, honestly, 5-9 I don't think is that bad. I think Kurisu put in a good shift in here. Lindsay played out of her skin. A nice middle of the road. I think he'll give it a 5 for Kurisu. I think that is very fair. Next up, we have Lylian. Just missed out in playoffs. I honestly think there's a lot of seasons where Lylian would have been in the playoffs, as well as another person that we'll be getting to a little bit later. We're starting to get to the back end now of the coaches. Thank God, because my throat is killing me. And but Lylian is a very transparent team. Let's have a look. 7-7 finish, 0.389 average, 5.45 error, and a 2.23 whip. 45 wins for, 60 wins against. Home run leader was Davy Marion, 5 home runs, 9 RBIs, 0.576 average, which is very strong considering the team's average. Definitely deserves to be that home run leader position. Lance, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 0.559 average. Lance, 16 hits, 3 home runs, 19. He performed, right? Like, he really performed. The biggest issue here that Lylian had, and I think maybe she wasn't totally aware. I think. I was kind of, do you know what, looking at this, did nobody tell her? Somebody probably should have told her, right? Because I feel like this was a pretty obvious kind of thing going on. She pitched 617 pitches thrown with Lance Lambert. Did nobody want to tell her that Lisa is a very strong pitcher? Like an insanely strong pitcher. Lisa could have pitched, and I feel like that error would have been a lot lower. The only negative I would say to Lylian is that error is a little high. That is something that needs to be worked on. But, like I just said, because it's annoyed me a little bit, did nobody want to suggest that she picks Lisa as her pitcher? I think that error could be a lot lower. Dare I say Lylian could potentially be in that playoff position if she picked Lisa Crockett as her pitcher. I think. Obviously, there's no guarantee of that, but yeah, I mean, Lisa's a really good pitcher. It was definitely something worth considering. Cowan Donato got overperformed. Cowan actually did really solid. 4 home runs, 10 RBI. Cowan Donato was actually the RBI leader for this team. I mean, yeah. You have Anna Goudreau, Raul Mondesi. Cowan Donato's the RBI leader. Cowan played out of her skin. The average is actually very solid. It's a playoff average, that. So 7-7, just missing out. It's a little bit unfair. But overall, listen, this was Lylian's first season. Lylian played every game except week 14 because obviously Golden frustrating didn't make that game. But Lylian played every game. All the stats got posted. Whenever there was any issues as far as availability and stuff, she went straight ahead and told me. She is what we want in the Little League. Actually, do you know, scratch that. She is what we want in the coach. Right? Because she's going to get better and better. I have no doubt in the slightest that Lylian is going to get better and better. And she played out of her skin. I think for a first season, this is really solid. I'm going to give Lylian an 8. And I think it's deserved. I do think it's deserved. Moving on, we have Meeky. Let me go ahead and find Meeky here. I'm getting there. Right, Meeky, 6-8 finish, 0.318 average, a 4.73 error, and a 2.06 whip. 34 wins for, 47 wins against. And looking at this, which I thought was insane, joint home run leader was actually Henry Deschamps. Henry. Yeah? Right, Henry. Home run leader was joint Henry Deschamps, but I had to give home run leader and the strong performance and overperformed to Bobby Bullgreen because Bobby, 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, 0.355 average, was the main pitcher for Meeky's team. The error is a little bit high, but listen, Bobby Bullgreen's your main pitcher. It is what it is. What would the error have been if Clanky wasn't banned? Something worth considering. However, that one's for ones against is not bad at all. And that average, 0.318, that's not bad. For the Little League, that is not bad at all. I think Meeky is getting better and better every season. I think if Meeky decides he wants to play again next season, potential playoffs. Something for Meeky to keep in mind. Hopefully he does see this, or hopefully Wed can pass this on if Wed sees this. Stick it out. Stick it out, because I think there's a playoff coming for Meeky. Just missing out this season, but yeah, he is slowly and surely getting better and better. As far as what do I rate Meeky's season, listen, I think because of the gradual improvement, I can't rate it too low. Like I said, the L's a little bit high, but he has got Bobby as his main pitcher. Bobby, kind of a reserve pitcher at best. I'm going to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 6. I've just broke the stat sheet. Sorry, Meeky, I've just broke your stat sheet. I've just broke Meeky's stat sheet. Alright, you saw that live. I've literally broken Meeky's stat sheet. That was good. Hang on, let me fix this in real time. I've straight up broken Meeky's stat sheet. The Cardinal logo has disappeared. I've broke it. I've literally broke it live. Right, after this video, if you see this, go ahead and check the Little League stats and see if I've fixed it or not, because I've legit just broken Meeky's stat sheet. That was good. Right, I will fix that. Right, Meeky, I will give a 6. I think there's a playoff coming for Meeky. Not a bad season at all. Next up is Mike featuring Mike and Brad. Let's go ahead and have a look here. So, 3-11 finish, 0.282 average, 6.92 error, and a 2.33 whip. So, a couple of forfeit wins here. There was 3 forfeit losses. Mike played the last 5 games. Didn't manage to pick up any wins, but listen, Mike was a great help this season in jumping in, playing all the games, getting the stats out there. Listen, he was a great help, and he gave it a try. And I literally said to Mike, I said to Golden, I said, listen, this is your chance to just get a feel for it. See if you enjoy it, and if you enjoy it, you get to draft your own team, you get to have your own season next season, and we'll see how you get on. So this was just Mike giving it a try. He did exactly that. Didn't hear him complain once, and just got on with it. And again, that is the type of coach we want in the Little League. It's the type of coach we want in the BBOL. He's willing to just play, get on with it. If he loses, he loses. If he wins, he wins. And it's a learning curve, which is what this league's all about. So I will say a big thank you to Mike for that. 3-11, 26 ones for, 60 ones against. Home run leader went to Rachel Brenner, who got 6 home runs, 12 RBI, 0.525 average, much higher. And to be honest, Rachel was kind of the standout. Julie only got 1 RBI to a name. I mean, not 1 RBI, 2 RBIs and 1 home run to a name here. So Rachel definitely carried this team to the wins that they got. And Rachel Brenner, I do believe, got an MVP. Was it week 3? I would have to check. I think it was. Lylian beat Brad 11-12 in that match, but Rachel Brenner had a huge part to play in that. We will come back to that match because it needs mention in a future award. MikeMadness next up. Oh, I didn't give him a rating. MikeMadness and Brad. Brad struggled a bit, right? But he did start off with some wins, but it still slowly started getting on the way. And I think ultimately with Brad, it started becoming a case of availability where he was like, do you know what, we need to get these games out of the way. Because that's why Brad left. Just availability issues. He was great. We hope he comes back. I'll give it a 5. I'll give it a 5. I can't give it too low because Mike, this was literally his taster season, right? So I can't base it off Mike's performances. So I'm just going by Brad's. Brad went 2-4, but very close game against Lylian, so it could have been 3-3. Yeah, that's what we're going to go with. Right, so MikeMadness is next up. Where is Mike here? Mike, here we are. 2-12, 0.234 average, 3.28 error, and a 1.66 whip. 13 ones for, 35 against. I think Mike will agree when he says he's clearly a lot better than this presents. This was just a rough season. Whether the team just wasn't teaming for him, but there is some standouts here that kind of says that the team wasn't performing how he would have expected given this draft, because I don't think this draft is even particularly that bad. Ahmed, 0.185 average. That is a scary low average for Ahmed Khan. 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 5 hits out of 27. No. Speaks for 12. Ahmed had an absolute stinker. Lowy is kind of the strongest performer in the team. 0.345 average. Not the highest. Adam Van Doren was actually the highest. However, 4 RBIs and 3 home runs on top of that. The pitching, 500 pitches were thrown by Todd and 157 pitches were thrown by Betty, both in the threes. Rough season. That's all you can say. Rough season. Ahmed absolutely ruined this season. How he only got 0.185. It is what it is. Honestly, I think obviously Mike said he was going to work on some of his bits for next season. And that's great. I do think he's better than that scoreline presents. But I also think we need to point a finger at Ahmed, because Ahmed did not perform at all. To put it in perspective, Amir Khan, 0.360, performed well above average. Ahmed just had an absolute stinker. Absolute stinker. Out of 10, it's a 4. And you know what? I don't think Mike would disagree with that. I just think it was a very rough season. Ahmed absolutely bottled it, and he's a lot better than that. So next season, I definitely don't expect him to be around here. There's no way I expect him to be around here. But yeah, just a rough season by Mike. Next up is Ben. Let me have a little look, see how many is left. Okay, I think there's a couple left. Not too many. But we're getting there. We are getting there. Right, BenRice fan is up next. Where is Ben? I can't find Ben. There he is. Right. BenRice fan, 2-12 finish, 0.287 average, 18.25 error, and a 5.96 whip. 25 runs for, 73 runs against. Listen, I don't have to say anything here. The stat is blatantly obvious. 18.25 error. That seems really high. I'm looking at the stats. Give me a second. Yeah, that is considerably higher than it needs to be. There is no way he has an 18.25 error. There's no way. There's just absolutely no way. We're going to ignore that. Like I said, there is some issues with some of the stats. That is definitely one that has to be taken into account, because that can't be right. That can't be right. However, it is still clearly the issue, I think, when we look at this team. Now, it is worth saying that his main pitcher was Esther French. Not a pitcher. Backup pitcher at best. But who else was going to use? Ivan obviously can pitch, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I say this as someone, yes, I'm aware. Everyone's going to say, don't you use Wendy for like 95% of all your pitching? Yes. But just because I do, doesn't mean you should. So I probably wouldn't recommend that people use Ivan or Wendy as a pitcher. But I do, because I'm stuck in my ways. Right? Ben had... Listen, he had a rough season, right? There's no denying it. However, let me say, Kenny performed really well. 7 home runs, 12 RBIs, 0.474, and 42 total bases for a 2-12 team is incredibly strong. Kenny pulled it out the bag to really get some stats on the board here. I do think Ben is a lot better than 2-12, and I think he's going to improve next season too. I don't see him being 2-12. Just keep the practice coming. Play all your games. Don't quit games. Because I see you, Ben, quitting games. Try and see your games through. I know it's frustrating, but it's the only way you're going to learn, in playing games and learning from mistakes, right? However, he did get a win against Uhoed, and Uhoed's in the playoff. So, like I said, Ben has it in his locker to win games and win games against considerably good, like really good people. So he's got it in his locker. Just keep the practice up and see out your games. And listen, you will get better and better as time goes on. How do I rate it this season? Listen, goes into the same as Mike, right? It's a rough season. There is people who just did not perform on your team. But, you know, I can only give it what I see. It's a 4. I think Ban will agree with that. Big win against Uhoed, but it is what it is, right? I have to go by what the stats say. Next up is Mad Math Student. 5-9 finish, 0.285 average, a 2.41 error, and a 1.93 whip. 21 ones for, 25 ones against. Not a big scoring team in conceding all ones for. Now, Perry has everything. The reason being, he kind of performed out of his skin. Now, Susan Gore, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs. However, he's not the home run leader. Perry is the home run leader with 5 home runs, 8 RBIs, and, check this, 0.285 average for the team, right? Perry marks 0.647 average. And he did a fair amount of pitching too. Now, I will say, 6.87 error for his pitching. So, not the best pitcher in the world. But he did his job on the pitcher's mound when he needed to. According to this, Perry also only played 6.5 games. And he's got more RBIs and more home runs than Susan Gore. Perry carried this team. Perry was incredibly strong. Perry also has more total bases than Susan Gore. Perry marks is a 4 speed. Perry had a golden season. However, unfortunately, a lot of other people didn't. Marty, 0.2 average. Oh my God. Hold on a minute. That can't be right. Nah, that's wrong. It's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. That's wrong. Sorry, I had to double check because according to this, 291 pitches thrown for Matty Cordova. Matty Cordova has 0.23 error. No. That's going to need looking at. There's no way. Because if so, Marty pitched out of his skin. I don't think that's right. It might be. Hey, listen, if it is, Marty, you're kind of a goat. You should have got the strong performance over Perry, but it can't be. It can't be. But yeah, 5-9 finish. Not terrible. Not by any stretch. But I think you could be in that 7-7 range. He has wins against Honourable Mention. He has a win against BackwardsCap. He has wins against those like... Oh yeah, that's good. Wait, pause, yawn. That's an excuse to take a coffee. Hang on. Good stuff. Right. He has wins against people that are in that playoff contention. 5-9, I don't think is even that bad. Is this Mad Math Student's first BBOL? Yes, I want to say it is. So 5-9 is actually not bad at all. 2.41, very on par for what I would expect the Little League to be on. So I can't be mad at this. I honestly think this is like a 6. It's not a bad season. However, I will say Perry had carried for a lot. So shout out Perry. Played out of his skin. Right, Andyroo. Let's have a look at Andy. Andyroo, 8-6 finish, just scraped it into playoffs. 0.323 average, 4.29 error, and a 1.99 whip. 26 ones for, 50 ones against. Now, let's have a look. Strong performance goes to Marcellus. Was not the home run leader. However, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 0.676 average, which is really strong. Perry's got that speed, right? So he's getting on those bases. He stands out, but didn't stop him. 0.676. Home run leader goes to Parker. 5 home runs, 11 RBIs. Strong performance there by Parker. Apart from that, everyone else kind of underperformed. Terry Vega, 0.133. It is Terry. He's a 4 height. But hey, listen. That didn't stop Perry. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's easy to blame speed, but a lot of players this season, a lot of kids, kind of went above that. So, it is what it is. Terry had a weak game. Judy 0.227, Tiffany 0.241, Wing 0.226. And ultimately, if you look at that hour, that's where Andy, I think, needs to perform going forward. I wonder if our Andy is pitching inside the box. I'm going to assume he definitely got some coaching off Pekka near the end, because he went on a 5-game win streak after losing as many as he did, before finally losing 1-9 against Theo in the last game of the season. But he had wins against BackwardsCap, Tristian, Devil Dave. Incredibly strong players. I think this is a good season for his first season out. Can't be mad at this at all. I don't think this is a bad season. I think the 1-4 is a little bit quibble, because the games that he did lose, 0-9, 0-9, 0-20 against Wooper. So it's very inflated. I don't think this is a bad season. Work on the pitching. It's not going to be bad. It'll be interesting to see what Andy does in the playoffs. 7? I think this is 7. For first one out, can't be mad at this at all. Right, next up. BackwardsCap. Right, this is the other person that I was like, should definitely be in the playoffs. Now, I'm trying to find BackwardsCap. Give me a second. There he is. Right, 7-7 finish. 0.402 average. 1.9 hour. 1.32 whip. 24 ones for, 26 against. That in itself, 4 26 against on a new coach. Very strong. Right, very strong. He beat Lylian 9-0. He has a 6-2 win against MrPantz, who was in the playoffs. He had a 5-2 win against Notorious Pun, who was in the playoffs. He performed incredibly well. He went on a 3-game loss streak that kind of just made him miss out on that playoffs. But listen, tin can for a new coach is very bold. But he did what he did. Now, if you look at Walter, overperformed incredibly, and I will get to Walter. I'm not even going to talk about Walter. We will get to him. Apart from that, Alexis Weiss 0.571 average. Pretty strong. RBIs 10 for Jessica Watersas as the leader there. Home runs are only 4 home runs all season. So the fact that he went 48 means that he is getting around those bases, and he was using that kind of Shane, Jessica, Dawn, using that little bit of speed that he's got and really making the most of it and getting around those bases. So his whole team have RBIs to their name. 11 ones on Dawn, 8 on Shane Smith. He's getting around those bases, and that is what I think kind of shows that he's going to be a very good coach going forward. I hope he joins next season, because he very much deserves it and was very much in the running for a couple of awards that I think we're going to get to now. Oh, we got one more. Bdeaux. Right, how do you pronounce this team? Is it Bdeaux? 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 I'm just going to say Bdeaux, because to me, or is it Bdeaux? I'm thinking about... Right, there is a town in France called Bordeaux, and that's what sometimes makes me think it's Bdeaux, right? That's what I'm going with, because of that town. Bordeaux. Bdeaux. I'm pretty sure it's spelled the same. I'm pretty sure it's AUX. So that's what I'm going with. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been saying it all season. I'm sticking with it. If it's wrong, it is what it is. Right. 11-3 finish. 0.389 average. 1.78 hour. And a 1.38... my throat's starting to go. You'll have to bear with me here. 1.36 whip. Right. 11.3. Extremely strong. 0.389 average is strong for the Little League. Definitely higher. I think it's time for Bdeaux to get that promotion, because I don't think Bdeaux's Little League anymore. Let's bump him up. He deserves to be in that Junior League conversation. I honestly, I'd say put him into the SDL. If SDL isn't there, I still think let's bump him up. Let's give him a chance in the higher up leagues because he has definitely proved this season that he is above the Little League level. It's time. It's time for Bdeaux to get a promotion here. 11-3 is really strong. Wins against Jasmine, wins against Notorious Pun, wins against Tristian. Excuse me. Wins again. I'm dying. My foot is literally gone. 7-1 win to end off the season against Tusk. 1.71 error is really strong. Home win, I don't think anyone is going to be surprised by. 7 home wins for Chico Papas. 18 RBIs. 18 RBIs is really strong. Really strong. Pitching, 607 pitches for Angela. Angela did really well. Listen, a lot of people don't like Angela because it's the bad arm. It's the 4-speed. I still stand by the fact that I think Angela is a really strong pitcher. Was Angela Bdeaux's pitcher in Season 6? She might have been. She might have been. But I know Bdeaux is a bit like me. He likes who I like. I have noticed. Chico and Wendy and Cal, forget about it. And Felix, these are my guys. Like, right here. Like, I wish I had Chico this season. God, I wish I had Chico this season. I'd be in the playoffs right now. But hey, a Wendy user. You love to see it. Does he pitch with Wendy? Nah, not really. 55 pitches for one. She did a job. 2.77 hour. But 1.96 on Angela is incredibly strong. I'm going to go out here. And I'm going to perhaps rate this a little bit high. However, I think it's time. I'm going to give it a 9. This was a really strong season. Bdeaux should be incredibly happy with how this season went. Right, next up. We are finally in the awards. Right, pause. Right, we are finally in the awards. Right. One thing I do want to say before we get to the awards. I want everyone to keep in mind, if you're in the nominations, that means you played out your skin for what this award is all about. And I will give a quick rundown on what the award is all about too. If you didn't make any of these nominations, if you didn't win any awards, don't worry. It's fine. This is just a generic thing that I'm doing because people like to see like awards and stuff like that. So if you didn't get one, don't worry. It's not a big deal, right? Are you ready? Game of the Season award. Goes without saying, 11-12, Brad versus Lylian. Listen, I wished this game was streamed or recorded. Maybe it was streamed. I don't think it was. But if anyone saw this, that is insane. Nominations, Andy Meeky week 2, Lylian Brad week 2, Brad v Lylian week 3, George v Matty in week 14, Backwards versus Honourable Mention week 13, and Bdeaux v Jasmine. But yeah, 11-12. This looked like this was a battle. You can't not give it to this. So congratulations to Brad and Lylian for the Game of Season award. Very, very good. Next up is the Pitcher of the Season award. Was there any doubt that it was going to be from the Pirates, if it was going to be from Wooper? Fernando Diaz, 1.07 error, 0.97 whip, 51 hits against, 11 runs against all season. Had to be. These were the nominations: Fernando, Frank Thomas, Christina Beattie, Diana Hayes, Walter Haw. Diana! Let me have a quick look at Diana Hayes, right? Because I do need to address... Actually, I already did. I won't revisit it. But Diana had an incredible pitching job. If I didn't mention Diana Hayes' pitching, I think I did. But on the off chance I didn't, please do go and check it out. Diana pitched out of her skin. Walter, we will get to. Right? So, congratulations to Wooper and Fernando Diaz. Next up is the Sportsmanship Award. Congratulations to Lylian. Listen, nominations: Lylian, Jasmine, Wooper adjusted the bracket, helped out a little bit with stats. I will not lie, and I will put my hands up and give credit where it is due. I have jumped into those adjusted stats sometimes to copy and paste some of those stats in, and it really helped. So, big shout out to Wooper for that. Devil Dave, always really friendly, always really get on with everyone. Same as Matty. Always gets on. Actually, do you know what? As far as nominations, let me put Tristian and Honourable Mention in there too, because they were very communicative when they had to do any delays and stuff. Really good communicators. But Lylian's been a joy to have around, right? I feel like Lylian has really enjoyed this season, and I'm really glad she did. I really hope she comes back. I think Lylian deserves it. I think there's a lot of people who could have won it. I think giving it to Lylian, I don't think anyone will be overly disappointed with that. So congratulations to Lylian. We hope you come back because you've been a joy to admin for this season. So shout out. Right, big hit award. Again, are we surprised? Let's go to league leaders and we go to home ones. 12 extra bait hits, runs battered in. All 3 of these, Cheryl has won. Runs battered in, right? 18 for Chico, 18 for Petra, 18 for Leia, 30 for Cheryl. It is what it is. Slugging percentage, on base, plus slug, runs created. Cheryl won them all. I can't not give it to Cheryl. Nominations for Wally, for Claudia Vallata, like I said. Those 3 on the Pirates absolutely stole the show. Marilyn McDonald, Leah Wayne, and Keisha Phillips were all up for discussion, but it had to be Cheryl. Congratulations to Cheryl and the Pirates and Wooper for that award. The Above and Beyond award, Walter Hall. Right. Let me go over to Walter's stats. Let me just say, Walter, not only did Walter, he threw 969 pitches in the Little League. Not only did he do that, he had a 1.9 error. This is for someone who is a free speed. A lot of people probably didn't even know who Walter Hall was. Because I'm not going to lie, I was like, who is Walter Hall? How low down is Walter Hall? I remember when he drafted Walter Hall, and I was like, what? Why? No. Listen, Walter shut everyone up. 1.9 error, 28 arm, free speed. Do you know what's even more impressive? Complete games, 6. 6. I'm going to be honest, I think that's a stat issue. I don't think he's got 6 complete games. But I don't care. He has been absolutely insane. I can't give it to anyone else as far as performing above and beyond where they should have been. Perry, I think, should be in that nominations. I don't know why he isn't. Diana, Machiko Adachi, Heather Quinn, Olive Hussein. Check the stats out for all of these people. They all performed above and beyond. But Walter Hall, take your hat off, because the only person who pitched on that team that went 7-7, should have been in the playoffs, was Walter Hall. Absolutely insane. Right, next up, new coach award. I've also given it to Lylian. Now, let me say, I give it to Lylian because we can only give it to one. I didn't want to have awards and have more than one person win it, because otherwise it kind of removes the, I don't know, the glam of winning an award. But let me say, BackwardsCap should be right there with Lylian. Both of those either of those could have won this award. I give it to Lylian. The reason being, Lylian was very back and forth with her with results. So it was consistently win, lose, win, lose. BackwardsCap won quite a lot in the first half of the season and then fell off a little bit in the second half. So to me, I think Lylian was a little bit more consistent. That's the only reason why Lylian wins this award over BackwardsCap, but definitely deserves to be in that discussion. Brad, I enjoyed having Brad around. I think as a new coach, he did his bit. The performances started falling off, but I think that was mainly due to, having his technical difficulties. Peppiner was kind of the same. Tusk, for a first season, maybe his performance wasn't fantastic, but again, he played all his games, recorded all of his stats, played his games, and I think he would have enjoyed the season. Same for Mad Math Student. But new coach award, 2 awards now for Lylian, so congratulations to Lylian for that. Now, true MVP. What does true MVP mean? Well, I took everyone from the MVP screen, put them all together, and then compared all of their stats to see who would be considered the true MVP. Now, shout out to the old heads, which are basically a load of Junior League people. I guess Devil Dave could be considered an old head. Maybe BG too. I asked them, and they all kind of come to an agreement. I said it was between 4 people out of these. Shout out Fred Benson being the only person that wasn't a pirate to get into that list, because Fred performed incredibly well. But Cheryl, Claudia, Wally all performed out of their skill. Performed out of their skin. Wally actually isn't in the nominations. But he should be. But he wasn't, because he wasn't an MVP. So technically, shouldn't he be disqualified? He deserves to be in this list, don't care. It was really hard for me to pick between Claudia and Cheryl. However, Cheryl dominated, and I eventually just had to give it to Cheryl. It is what it is. Right, next up, Coach of the Season. This is the big one. And to be honest, controversial, but I honestly think he deserves it. I think Bdeaux. I can't. What is that name? Bdeaux. You're Coach of the Season, my guy. Listen, you should not be in the Little League. It's time for you to get that promotion. You performed out of your skin. Your whole team had good performances. I honestly think the era is very solid. It's time for you to go up. You're too good. The only reason why Wooper, why Matty, why those type of people do not get Coach of the Season is because they are too good for the Little League anyway, and they should be in a higher league. Bdeaux performed out of his skin, and this is his earning season. This is what gets him higher up. So big congratulations to the Cincinnati Reds and Bdeaux for getting Coach of the Season. My vote is officially gone. Right, on to the playoff predictions. Right, here we go. Obviously, Jasmine has already played game 1, so there you go. We will look at the backyard quarters. I predict Jasmine to get the 2-0 win over Tristian. I also predict Bdeaux to get the 2-0 over Andyroo. If Bdeaux can perform how we know he can, how I think he's been performing this season, Andy had that area of form. I also think he's going to get a lot of help from Pekka. Not Pekka playing. Not Pekka playing. Pekka. Not Pekka playing. But I think he will get a lot of help from Pekka. But I do think Bdeaux will prove to be a little bit too much. We'll get the 2-0 win. Into the backyard semis. Bdeaux versus Bdeaux. Very close. This took forever to me to kind of figure out. This is anyone's game. However, I'm just going to give it to Bdeaux. But there's nothing in it. There is nothing in it. Bdeaux could win that. Would not be surprised at all. And in the backyard semis, Wooper versus Jasmine. Jasmine, really strong player. However, Wooper's going to be in that World Series, realistically. 2-0 for Wooper. Backyard finals, Bdeaux against Wooper. I think Bdeaux will put up a very good fight. However, I do think Wooper is kind of a standout in that backyard, and I think he will kind of get his way through the playoffs, get into that World Series area. Front yard quarters, Notorious versus MrPantz. I think Pun is probably the stronger of the two. I think there will be a fight. I definitely think MrPantz can take a game there. However, I do think Notorious is probably the standout to win that. Honorable mention versus Uhoed. Actually, a lot closer than I thought. However, I do think honorable mention has a lot more heavy hitters. And I think because of that, on a place like Sandy, if honorable mention gets those hits off, which I think honorable mention can, honorable mention knocked me out in the SDL last season. And I know honorable mention is a lot better hitter than perhaps his stats are showing. Not that his stats have been particularly bad, but I know he's even better than what it looks like. And I think he'll lock in for the playoffs, like he locked in for the SDL playoffs. And I think a 2-0 there for honorable mention. Forza Warp though, shout out Uhoed. Matty Sands versus honorable mention. This is where Matty, I think, takes over. 2-0 for Matty Sams against honorable mention. I think Matty will just prove to be a little bit too much for honorable mention. Maybe honorable mention can take a game, but it's I think it's Matty's to lose. George Benucci versus Notorious, same thing. I think it's George's to lose. Another player who is too good for the Little League, and I think it'll show. Going into the backyard finals, Matty versus George. Now, this was an interesting one because I think Matty can win this. I honestly do. I think Matty can win this. However, I think George will scrape it. 2-1. George Benucci to win, which I think World Series will put George versus Wooper in the final. I don't think we'll have a great Game 5, but I think there will be some close matches here. However, while they have both been really good offensively, Wooper I think has been incredibly strong offensively. And I think the players he has on his team, I think I have to give it to Wooper. So, playoff prediction, 3-1 World Series final. Wooper will win the playoffs. And that is it for the Little League Season 7 review. My thought is gone. Absolutely gone. I hope you all stick around for Season 8. It has been an absolute joy adminning for you all. I hope you all had fun in the regular season. I hope you all have fun in the playoffs. I will certainly be keeping an eye out for those playoff games. Now, recording them, you don't have to, and I want to make that absolutely clear. A lot of people say, oh, you've got to record your playoff games. No, you don't. If you're comfortable with streaming and recording your playoff games, by all means do. But if you don't want to, don't. Right? You're under no obligation to do that. The last thing I want is people streaming their games when they don't want to and not playing at their best because they're concerned about people backseating, loads of people watching, etc., etc. If you don't want to stream, don't. Just have fun with it. All right. So good luck to all of our playoff coaches. Thank you everyone for playing, and I'll see you guys next season. Thanks for watching, guys.